I always tried to fit in to prove I could be like them. When I was younger, I didn't know better. I wanted to be part of their world. But I quickly realized I was never going to be the child they expected. I was always the quiet one, the one who didn't quite shine the way Sean, my older brother, did. Sean, the golden child. The one who always made sure to smile and do what was expected of him. Meanwhile, I just kept trying to be the good daughter, the quiet one. The one who didn't make waves. But even then, it was clear I didn't matter as much. Sean could do no wrong. He was the star. He was always ready with the perfect response, always knew how to navigate a conversation, always knew how to win in the family game. He was charming. He was sharp. And to my parents, he was perfect. They held him up as the model of success, like he was the only one who understood what truly mattered. Every conversation would turn back to Sean and his latest achievement or project. He was the one who made them proud, the one who could talk business, who could bring in the profits, the one who could give them exactly what they wanted. Meanwhile, I sat there unnoticed. I tried so hard to do everything right. I excelled in school. I kept to myself. I followed all the rules, hoping one day they'd see me the way they saw him. But it never happened. The first time I realized I didn't matter to them was when I was 15. I had worked so hard to get into the top school in our area. I was proud of myself. I'd studied for months, stayed up late, sacrificed time with friends to focus. I thought it would make them proud. But when I came home with my acceptance letter, my parents barely glanced at it. My dad didn't even take a moment to acknowledge my achievement. He was too busy with some business deal he was wrapping up. My mom didn't say much either. She smiled, but it was the kind of smile that made it feel like I was an inconvenience. Instead, they spent the entire evening discussing their upcoming investment in a luxury hotel project. I asked them if we could maybe spend the day together to celebrate my success, just the three of us, and my mom gave me a distracted look. Not now, honey. We've got a lot to plan. This is important. I remember the emptiness in my chest as I stood there, feeling completely invisible. It wasn't just about the celebration. It wasn't just about the rejection. It was about how they never saw me. They never cared to see who I was or what I was doing with my life. They were so obsessed with money and success, they didn't even stop to notice the person who was right in front of them. But Sean? Sean was the hero in their eyes. When he made his first business deal at 17, they threw him a huge party. I had just finished my exams and I was exhausted, but of course I still had to go to the party, sit through it, pretend like everything was fine. I remember watching Sean stand at the center of attention, surrounded by people praising him for his business acumen and drive. My mom had tears in her eyes. "We're so proud of you, Sean," she said, hugging him. And all I could do was stand there, trying not to let the bitterness choke me. I wanted so badly to be seen, to feel like I mattered, but it was clear that Sean was the one they truly valued. I wasn't just in the background, I was completely out of the picture. Things got worse when I turned 18. My parents had become completely consumed by their business ventures. They were so focused on securing their financial future that they barely noticed I was even around. They were constantly fighting about how to handle their wealth, about how to grow their investments, about what luxuries they were going to buy next. I started to withdraw, spending more time in my room, reading, or just trying to escape into a world where I didn't have to listen to them talk about the next big thing they were chasing. But then one day it all came to a head. I had just finished high school and I had been accepted to a prestigious university across the country. I was excited but nervous. I knew it was going to be a big change, but I was ready. I wanted to leave that house, to escape from the suffocating expectations of my parents, to finally breathe and figure out who I was. I had been accepted into the best program for my career interests, and yet I could hardly get my parents' attention. The day we sat down to discuss my future, my mom immediately started talking about how I should reconsider going to college because it would cost too much and take time away from a potential career path. My dad chimed in, saying, "There's no reason to spend money on education when you could be investing that money into something more profitable. Have you thought about working in real estate like your brother?" They talked about me like I was some investment they could manipulate, like I was just another asset to be optimized. And Sean? Of course, he was the one who knew what was best for me. "You should listen to them, Emily," he said. "They're just trying to help you out. It's a waste of money to get a degree when you could make more in business. Look at what I'm doing." It was in that moment, sitting there in front of them, listening to them talk about me like I was a financial tool, that I realized they didn't love me. They loved the idea of me, the version of me that could bring them something. The version of me that could somehow contribute to their financial gain. They didn't care about my dreams or what I wanted. They didn't care if I was happy or fulfilled. They only cared about what I could give them. I couldn't take it anymore. I snapped. I stood up, looked at them both and said, "I'm done. I'm done being your puppet. I'm done being treated like I don't matter. I don't need your money, I don't need your approval, and I'm leaving. I'm going to college. I'm going to figure out my life on my own." And I left. I moved out a week later with no backing from them. No emotional support. No congratulations. Just silence. That was the hardest thing I've ever done. Walking away from a family that I thought would always be there for me. But it was also the best decision I ever made. In the months that followed, I realized I didn't need them. I didn't need their approval or their money. I didn't need to be the person they wanted me to be. I just needed to be myself, even if that meant being alone. And slowly, I started to heal. I started to build a life that wasn't about their expectations. I focused on my studies, made new friends, and found people who actually cared about who I was as a person, not what I could do for them. I started to feel like I had worth, like I mattered, even if my family never saw it. Now, looking back, I don't regret it. I don't regret walking away. Because sometimes, in order to survive, you have to step out of the shadows and make your own path. And as for my family? They're still obsessed with money. They're still obsessed with their image. They still put profits above people. But that's not my problem anymore. I've learned that love doesn't come with a price tag, and neither does respect. And no matter how much they have, it'll never make up for what they lost when they chose money over me. I don't need them to validate me. I don't need their money or their approval. I just need to be okay with who I am, and to find a family that will love me for me, not for what I can do for them. And that's how I got here. That's how I learned that sometimes, the only way to survive is to walk away from the people who never cared enough to see you in the first place.